but I know the DJ.
Do you?
Welcome to episode 20 of But I Know the DJ, a podcast discussing all things DJing, music, nightlife, business, and pop culture through the unfiltered opinions of host Snacks, a.k.a. Snack Steel, powered by Dope Entertainment and our sponsor, Anchor. As always, I'd like to shout out our Black-owned business of the week, Adorn Boutique Studio, a boutique kids party venue suited for children ages 5 to 13 years old. More than just a kids party venue, Adorn is a posh destination that defines exclusive pampering, tile luxuries, and all-inclusive party package. You can check them out at adornboutiquestudio.com or on Instagram at adornboutiquestudio. Now introducing our guest for today's episode, representing Team Hennessy, Boston with 20 years experience of bringing people together through nightlife and curated events. We have Rob Eugene, a.k.a. Boston Rob, in the building. Came correct with a bottle of Hennessy, so we've obviously poured up. Welcome. We're super happy to have you. Cheers. Cheers, everybody. Just take a sip real quick. And done right. All future guests, please take notes. You clearly come correct every time. I mean, it's
only right.
Yeah, you're definitely the full package here. Welcome, man. I appreciate you being here. And it's funny because, we spoke, we were connected through a mutual friend. Yeah. Shout out Sid. And, we were going back and forth, texting and stuff. And then we meet accidentally, was it Friday?
Yeah, I think so.
It's like 5 days ago. And I walk into the spot and I look and I'm like, yo, that's the dude I'm about to interview in a couple of days. And I go up to you. Obviously, you were kind enough to just shake my hand, even though you didn't know who I was.
Yeah. Nah, I recognize you.
Yeah, but I was just like, yo, I'm literally interviewing you in 5 days. Good to meet you. So just really weird how the world works, but we're finally here. How is everything? How's life?
Doing well, man. I can't complain considering.
Yeah.
I feel good.
Yeah. And, as it suggests in the intro, 20 years in the game, just through whether it be nightlife or event curating, anything like that.
Yeah.
What was that start like?
Actually, it started in college. I went to BU for undergrad.
Oh, shit. No way.
Yeah. I'm showing my age. So graduated from Latin school in 97.
Oh, shit. No way.
Yeah.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Dorchester.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah. I've been in Boston all my life.
Yeah.
So got to BU, obviously, 97, second semester 98. There was a group called La Familia. They had already started throwing parties in Boston.
That's fire.
Yeah, it was
not like a school sanctioned group, or like that was just the clique.
That was just the clique. That's what they called themselves, and it was really cool because it was so diverse. It was a group of it was an Indian cat, Latino, who else is involved? A couple of black cats.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, when I tell you it was like a United Nations group.
Yeah,
it was
that's
a little
dope.
bit of everything.
That's dope.
So when we came together to throw parties, it was like that's what the room looked like, and it was amazing because at that time in Boston, it wasn't that's not what the scene was like. It was literally like you had your white parties, you had your black people here, Latin night, and and in Asian parties they had their own clique.
Yeah.
So when we had these parties, it was like all encompassing. It was great. Yeah. And it was pretty inspiring to see that, being from Boston. I grew up in Dorchester. We had diverse, the culture is diverse, but not as much as, people coming from all parts of the world, going to BU. So where I came in, my niche was that I was a local guy. So I had people coming from Boston proper to these parties and meeting people from all over the world.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, from Dorchester, I run into a girl from Turkey down the street.
Right.
I mean?
Yeah.
So it was like, oh man, this is amazing.
Yeah. I finished school at Suffolk, and I grew up in Rosendale.
Yeah,
and so I know exactly what you're talking about. Where you'll just see these kids, and especially the kids that come from other parts of New England. Yeah. So they come from New Hampshire, and think Boston is like a New York or even like a Dubai. To be honest, they see the lights and they're like, oh, it's so nice. But to us, it's like I was walking through downtown at 5 years old, it's whatever. Yeah. And then just seeing their perspective of being able to meet the different kinds of people, the inner city people that, You can just tell when you like walk in a room and look at them, you know who's from Boston.
Right.
And tell like people who just like visited here or like are just going to school here.
Yeah.
What was the music scene like at that time? About
but we threw hip hop parties. It was all hip hop and R&B. So like, and that's what brought everybody together. Like that, the common love for hip hop and R&B. So.
Word, that's what's up.
Yeah.
And at what point did you shift into like actual like?
So I graduated in 2001. I want to say I got involved with a couple parties here and there, but I wanted to, like the big break. You could say the breakthrough was an opportunity at a spot called Blue Wave. So Blue Wave was a lounge on Congress Street in South Boston. The owner was Iranian.
Word. And
the restaurant was doing okay during the daytime, but had an entertainment license. It was like, hey, I want to do some stuff at night. Like a buddy of mine named Herbie, he's the one that brought me in. And then I actually brought Kareem on.
Yeah. I was going to say, when you said Blue Wave, I'm like, I'm pretty sure this is a spot that Reem said he got his start as well.
Kareem had just finished school in Atlanta. And when he came back, he was just like, he was interested in promoting.
Yeah.
So the opportunity came. I was like, hey, you want to hop on? And then we did that for a few years together. Eventually the relationship broke off. I stayed there a little bit longer. So I ended up having an 8-year run there every Saturday night. Yeah.
What's there now?
I think it's like a barbecue place or something.
Okay.
Yeah. Eventually, like, the whole scene on the Seaport changed, and a lot of the business started moving towards Seaport Boulevard, and we were on Congress Street. So the restaurant aspect was just died out. It was a lot more like takeout options and more dining options further on the other side.
Right.
So the nightlife wasn't enough to sustain the business and end up selling. So I forgot to mention. So towards the end of Blue Wave, Eddie Furman, who now owns Savor.
Okay,
He became a partner there.
Word.
So, he gained a lot of his experience there and was able to then go to Savor, a few years later.
Get his own spot. Yeah. That's fire. And how would you describe the state of nightlife, the state of music, the state of going out at that time?
We were winning because there wasn't a lot for us. Options. People were playing hip hop, but they didn't care for our crowd, so to say. It was always a challenge. And we were able to provide it all, we had food up until midnight.
Ooh,
yeah,
I like that.
And it was a small spot. I think we had a 200 capacity. So it was literally by like 11:30, we were already done for the night. Unless you knew somebody, you weren't getting in.
Yeah.
And it was literally like that every single weekend. And we did a good job of like bringing different DJs in. We did a few special guests when we could. I actually had Nas there, if you believe in that.
Damn, that's crazy.
Yeah, he had done the Rock the Bells.
Oh yeah.
And that's how few options there were at the time.
Right,
Nas ended up at Blue Wave. Right. Had Talib Kweli.
Damn, that's dope.
I think who else showed up there. Camp Lo.
Oh, yo, Camp Lo is such an underrated
I know.
Artist.
They were ahead of their time.
Yeah. Like, especially because now, like, you have, like, the Roddy, like, the sing-songy trap stuff, like, Camp.
Dude, drop Lucchini right now.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Oh, by the way, I'm a big music head.
No, of course, yeah. Dude, we can chop up music. We can take 30 minutes off of this episode, chop
it's
up
funny,
music.
DJs used to get annoyed at me. I'm like, I could hear a song, like, try this after that, because the BPM, like, I could hear this.
Oh, shit, so you're tapped in, which is I appreciate to hear, because so many promoters are so separated from music.
Right now I'm kind of tone deaf. A lot of the new stuff I can't.
Dude, I'm 26 and I feel that way. Like, I have a 16-year-old sister, and she's all on the TikTok and all that stuff. I know you have daughters and stuff. Oh, they're on. And she's playing music or whatever, and I'm like I feel like the older where I'm like, this. You listen to this music back in my day, like,
what's
music
funny,
was like that.
Ironically about TikTok, my daughters are hearing like old school songs, and they're starting to hear. I'm hearing them singing, and I'm like, how do you know this song?
Yeah.
It's TikTok. And it's so funny to me. So
that's something that
it's kind of bridging the gap a little bit too.
Yeah, that's something that Real P and I were talking about when he was on here. How it kind of destroys music in a weird way, but also like uplifts other music in another way.
Yeah.
And it's, there's me being a DJ and just studying music all the time. Like, there's certain Spotify playlists that are called like viral hits or like popping on TikTok, and it's just the list of what's going on.
Yeah.
And you'll see songs from the 70s, from the 80s, and then obviously the new stuff. It's just so random.
It's so random.
And it's crazy how it's kind of, what radio used to do, kind of dictate what's popping, what's hot, and what people are actually listening to.
Right.
Have you looked into TikTok at all? Have you been on it like that?
I'll go on, like, honestly, I'll check out like a workout or like, or like what's hot on Amazon.
Yeah.
Things you need to buy. Like,
yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. It's crazy because I was so anti TikTok at the beginning of COVID.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, this is stupid. And I'm being 26, like I came from the Vine era.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so I was like, no, this is a knockoff of Vine. This is
whack.
whack.
Yeah.
And then I started seeing like Amazon stuff where it's like just people that like show cool shit that on Amazon you wouldn't be able to find, or like the workout stuff. Like it's really dope.
There's a lot of like comedians posting things on there too.
Yeah. Like you could find like your lane in there and like really pop off. So that's I mean, how did you go about like booking DJs then if you felt more a little bit in tune with music at the time that you were really throwing parties?
I would book DJs based off of seeing them DJ or hearing them DJ at other parties for the most part. And I kept it pretty small at first. I could say a lot of DJs kind of got their start there. Papa Don.
Oh shit, yeah.
I think Cisco was probably one of the first. I was probably one of the first guys to book him in Boston.
Wow. Dope.
Yeah, and then later on, and towards the end, like Real P came along. He's DJ there. I mean, I think anyone at that time I gave a shot, just even if they weren't great. And then, if you were good, then, got to get you to come back. DJ Playtime, who's out in Connecticut, he was like a household name there. He was a regular. He would drive from Connecticut to Boston and DJ, which was good. Yeah.
And did you, because I know in the current scene, I've seen it where a lot of promoters and DJs and venues need to tiptoe around certain things in the urban community to be able to stay alive.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, we can't allow this to avoid that.
Yeah.
Was that how it was back then as well? Or was it things a little bit, I feel like without social media, things were a little bit more free-flowing.
Yeah,
maybe.
But I mean, there was a little bit of that. Like, I not going to lie, I tended to stay away from the DJs that did like certain other parties, because, for whatever reason, like that wasn't what I was going after. And I felt like the DJ had a lot of like dictating the crowd.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
I wanted the music to dictate the crowd, not necessarily me being the promoter or who was spinning. Like, I just wanted the music to be consistent in terms of it being very feel good. Started off, it was almost like a format. Like, start off with some neo soul, going into some higher tempo R&B, reggae, and then play a small set of like the hits.
Yeah.
But it wasn't about what was popping.
Right. And especially because it wasn't the big like clubs.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? This was a lounge, like 200 head lounge. Like,
so it was always like a mature vibe.
Yeah.
Once in a while you get your knuckleheads because
of
there
course.
are women there, and that's all it takes.
yeah, of course. And was that like your full-time gig, like doing these events and throwing these parties?
Not initially. I was working full-time, and then eventually like the money got really good, and so I was able to do that full-time. I actually started working at the restaurant. I bartended. I became a bar manager.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, I ended up owning a piece of the business towards the end.
Oh, shit. Wow. Yeah, so you were definitely invested in it.
Exactly.
That's dope.
Yeah, I was sad to see it go, and it was terrible. I mean, there hasn't been a Blue Wave, like a place like it since. Like, in terms of what that vibe was.
And did you always study like business? Like, was business always your background?
No, so in college I studied international relations. I thought I was going to work for the UN. That was my goal. Like, international health. And I always worked in healthcare environments. So I worked at Spalding Rehab, Harvard Medical, Bethesda Serial Deaconess. I think that was, and that was through college and then after graduating.
Word.
And then once I started promoting full time, I took some odd jobs here and there when things got slow, did some temping. And then, Hennessy came knocking, basically.
Yeah, please tell me about that transition, like how that came about and kind of what you do there now.
So Team Hennessy is a national program. So what I do here in Massachusetts, Boston specifically, there's a representative in almost every major city in the U.S. So Miami, Chicago, New York, there's 2 representatives. L.A. has 2, New Jersey. So we're all over. So it started off with like 4 cities. I think it was L.A., Chicago, New York, in Miami.
Makes sense.
As it started to expand, they came looking in Boston. And so the first call was to the local distributor, which is Martinetti United Liquors. So they're responsible for selling the product. So they're like the sales reps. They're like, they're the ones that go into the accounts and try to move the product. So, of course, they're like, all right, who can we talk to or who should we interview for this position? Like, we need someone who knows the scene, has connections, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. So their first person was me. That's what that was the first referral. So I had worked with the distributor on different parties. I had done stuff with Hennessy before. This was even a position.
So they specifically wanted to infiltrate, like, obviously the market that would be drinking lots of Hennessy, which is party market, and then a specific community within that party market.
Exactly.
In a place like Boston where it's like literally black and white.
Exactly.
And so you would say that you became that first referral just because of your success through promoting and through being in Blue Wave.
And some of my personal relationships as well.
Wow.
My guy at the time, Julian, he was working there as a sales rep. I actually worked a little while as a merchandiser. Like, I was trying to, so basically it's like a stepping stone when you get into sales. Like, if you go in without any experience, you go in as a merchandiser. And then, it's like you pay your dues, you learn the ropes, you learn the business, and you do that for X amount of years. And then then you kind of navigate your way. You become a sales rep, portfolio manager. There's like a ton of different opportunities. So I was only in the job about, 6 to 8 months. And
as a merchandiser.
As a merchandiser. Okay. And then I was selected to do something for Hennessy. Yeah, I forget what the program was. And so I had a night out. I think it was at Caprice at the time. I don't know if you remember Caprice. This was,
bro, I'm young, man.
Yeah. The Caprice was like a smaller space. It was next to the Roxy.
Okay.
And so I'm doing this. I'm doing this thing for Hennessy, and then the distributors come in and they're like, "What's Rob doing here?" So they had no idea that I was a merchandiser, but I was also a nightclub promoter.
Right.
So at that time they were like,
wait. But that wasn't.
So that was the thing. So this was after. It was later on that the opportunity with Team Hennessy came.
Oh, I got it.
So basically, there was a no moonlighting policy. So me working for Martinetti during the day, I wasn't supposed to have a second job.
Right.
So they saw that as a conflict, that I'm out working, promoting till 2:00 in the morning, and then I'm calling on accounts as early as like 7 a.m. the next day.
For the sake that, just for the sole reason that like you could be coming in tired or like not at your best.
Yeah, exactly, not at my best, basically. So HR calls me and they're like, "Hey, you're gonna have to decide what you want to do here."
Oh, as a DJ, and I do the 9 to 5 thing. Like, I went to college. Like, I have, you know what I mean? Immigrant family. Like, I gotta keep working. Like, and that's like been a nightmare for me. Yeah. Where like someone from work, like HR, is out at the club that I'm playing and is like, isn't that whatever? And then I get the call the next day. That's my fucking nightmare. The fact that happened to you is insane.
Yeah, and I couldn't survive off of the salary alone for a merchandise. I think at the time it was like, I don't know, 30, 35 grand, something silly. It was just like, I was doing it because it was a stepping stone.
No, for sure.
So I was just like, all right, well, I guess I got to let this go. So Team Hennessy came years later, which was why I was like, all right, we know Rob.
Right.
We know he's in the scene already. We worked with him.
Wow.
So, but it wasn't automatic.
Right.
So they interviewed a bunch of people from Boston, promoters, DJs, like just
interesting
influencers. I mean, obviously that wasn't a thing at the time.
Right.
We didn't really have that title, influencers, yet.
Right.
Social media wasn't as big as now.
Mm-hmm.
So I get the first phone call interview, and it was terrible. Like, it tanked. I was supposed to be at like noon. And the woman that I was interviewing with said, "Oh, can we push it back to 4?"
Oh,
now it's 4 p.m. Now my kids are home. So I'm like trying to get away to find a quiet space. I'm kind of keep an eye on the baby at the same time, and it was just awful. So I didn't get a call back initially.
I'm like cringing. I don't know if you can hear it in the mic. I'm like cringing. Oh, it's terrible.
So then I have to hear about like people I knew personally getting the call back to go interview in New York. I won't say any names. But then I'm like, I was so mad I'm like, oh my, I can't believe like I missed this opportunity.
Was this like a dream job to you in a sense?
Yeah, in a sense, because it coincided with what I was doing already. Right. Like, I had done a few different things with Hennessy already. And, like even when I actually got the callback interview, I was like, I'm already Team Hennessy, whether I get this job or not. Like, I'm always going to be doing things with the brand.
Right.
Just because of where we are and the parties that I throw.
Mm-hmm,
So I get the call back. It says, "Okay, we want to bring you to New York to interview." I'm like, cool. Book the flight. They take care of everything. I missed my flight.
So this is the second time we've met. So, beyond, us meeting and having this conversation, you know how powerful social media can be, perception can be.
Yeah.
I see you as a certain way. He came early with gifts. So to me, you're very put together. You come correct.
Yeah.
So hearing these things, I'm like, everybody starts somewhere. It's basically the messaging coming off of this episode.
So listen. Like when I tell you it wasn't my fault, like I get in a cab to get to the airport at least like 2 hours ahead of time. And I think I was traveling from like Rosendale at the time.
Hey, you know the vibes.
No, Norwood. I was living in Norwood by then. So I'm on my way. It's terrible rain, and then it's just like a terrible car accident, like a pileup.
Yeah.
So I get to the airport. I literally missed the like I saw the door, like the door just closed. It was like a movie scene.
Yeah.
Come on, oh, sorry, the door's already closed. So I get online. I check my phone. The next flight out of Boston to New York. Like I don't care at this point. I'll get on airline. I'll pay for it out of pocket just for one way.
Right.
So I find one like 30 minutes out. 30 minutes later, I book it. I'm able to get on that flight.
Word.
So then. So I text the woman who I'm in contact with, and I'm like, "Hey, Aria, I missed my flight, but I'm on another plane. I'm on another flight right now. I shouldn't be too late, but I'm running a little behind."
So the interview's like soon from after you land. It's not like the next day or anything.
No, it's literally like a day trip. It was like in and out.
Yeah.
Flight the next leaving later that day.
Yeah. Fuck.
She said, "Rob, you're lucky. Like I'm already crossing the bridge. I'll see you and get." So basically, like if I had texted her any earlier,
yeah,
and she was still home, she would have been like, whatever. But thank God. But it actually ended up working out. I was only maybe like 15 minutes late. Somebody else was running behind, and I crushed the interview.
Hell yeah.
I interviewed with 3 women. It was Aria, Ingrid, and Kelly. I still keep in touch with.
Yeah, shout out to them. You got the names on lock.
Yeah. And kind of changed my life, man. I got the job, I think maybe a month later. I started January of 2015.
Wow.
And
damn, yeah, that's
and then a month later they're like, "Oh, we're gonna send you to Cognac, France, to get the whole experience of learning about Hennessy." And
that's fucking fire.
Since I've been to Cognac 3 times now.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's so dope.
Yeah,
it's crazy because I think most people in the industry, they're there for a reason. They love the life. They love whether it be the connections or just the fun, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I feel like every single person in the industry hopes that they can get some brand deal or some sponsorship or get some whatever from some relevant brand. For me, it's maybe like a headphone brand or whatever.
Yeah.
And I feel like for someone like a promoter, like a black promoter in a city, Hennessy is one of those things.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So getting that job, obviously you get a job, you have the pursuit of happiness moment, whatever. But in terms of, I guess maybe just the bigger impact that's bigger than yourself, what were the emotions going through that?
So it started off as a part-time job, and it wasn't the greatest salary, but I knew it was a great opportunity, and it was already aligned with what I was doing, right? I'm throwing parties, I'm on the scene.
Right.
I'm just going to be able to elevate what I'm already doing.
Oh, hell yeah, 1,000%.
And then get me into spaces that I haven't been before.
Absolutely.
So, and that's a great thing about having a big brand behind you with a big budget. A lot more doors are open to you when you say, "Hey, I want to come here and do this, and I have this much to spend."
Right.
So with that, with being able to get into those new doors, you're able to bring people with you. Like, "Hey, I want to have this DJ also."
Right.
Or I want to bring this photographer in, or this videographer is going to do this with me. Or I'm bringing my guys with me to grab this table, or, so a lot of the experiences that you get to experience, enjoy, I should say, you get to bring other people on to enjoy it with you. So, that's been great. But I think my favorite part of the job is a lot of what you see with these dinners. Because now I'm highlighting what you can consider unsung heroes. People are doing things in the community that, unless you know them personally, you don't know the story or what they're contributing. So I think that's been great.
Yeah, you're crushing it with the segues because I did have the dinners on the list here. So I wanted to start with the privileged toast is what it's called, right?
Yeah,
and so
toast.
And like I said, our mutual that we had that I mentioned earlier, Sid, was honored this year. Do you mind just explaining what that program is, what it entails, and then kind of just elaborate who you
so basically the point of the dinner series is to highlight individuals who are making strides in the community, or through leadership, philanthropy, what out there, just anything that has to do with the community, basically. you know, like Sydney, for example, you know, with Pioneer Run Club and everything that he's doing, he's having a huge impact.
Yo, this year for him, like I speak to him every day.
Yeah,
and he's half dead. Don't get me wrong, he's half dead. But the things he's doing, like, it's one of those things where like you look at someone, you're like, I can't believe I know you.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And
it's awesome.
Yeah, so shout out to him and
super humble kid, like you know,
insane,
super smart.
Yeah,
he's always on point.
Yeah, always on point. Yeah. And I know that when he let us know that he was, you know, being honored and everything like that. Like I know it was a moment for him.
Yeah.
And I know like he brought his parents and everything like that.
And brother.
And what's it? Are you the person choosing them? Or
so I'm choosing them in the market. Yeah. Wow. So a lot of it is just kind of like, you know, for the most part, I've known everyone personally for about 90%, and then others is just like I hear people talking about them, so I go and do my research and like, all right, this is a good candidate, you know, and then reach out, say, hey, how do you feel about this? And like, I'd like to honor you with a dinner. A couple I haven't been able to execute because of COVID. You know, not everyone feels comfortable, even in a private setting. But I do since COVID, we've made sure that everything's been private dining experiences, just 6 people, no one around, and, you know, mask on when you're walking around and mask off and, you know, when you're sitting down to eat. So it's been a challenge. It's gone from like dinners of like 10 to 15 people to now 6.
And stuff that is probably more elaborate and stuff. That's
so the challenging part is like people don't know what 6 people, like what 4 people to invite, right? Because I'm 1, the guest is 2. Now you can only invite 4 people.
Right.
So like Miss Hot Sauce, for example, at Spark FM, she's got a whole studio of people that she could invite, and she had to narrow it down to just 4 guests. So like.
Yeah,
that's a challenge. So for me, you know, it's not too bad. It makes it a little bit easier to
to manage.
Exactly.
Yeah. How does the actual night go for?
So basically, we'll start. So I'll do 2 or 3 signature cocktails, and then the privilege toast at the end. So for each course, you'll have a cocktail basically. So
dope.
3 courses, and then we'll finish off with a toast, and then I'll present an award and an engraved bottle. And explain to them.
The engraved bottle, bro. He showed it to us. I'm like, bro, if I don't have an engraved bottle of anything by the time I die, I did not do life right. You also, and you just posted this, you had the Hennessy XO commemorative dinner for Makiba McCreary.
Yes.
Maybe just elaborate on that dinner specifically and what she's been doing.
Yeah, so Hennessy came out with a commemorative bottle series for the 49th Madam VP. So she's the 49th Vice President of the U.S. So the sleeve on the bottle of the case is a white box with the number 49. And so we're choosing women in our markets who are breaking barriers, who are the first of whatever it is they're doing. So Makiba is the first in her position at the MFA. So that's why I chose to honor her. Yeah.
Super dope. And from what I've been just from hearing your story from the beginning in terms of the way they found you and then just the things that I've been hearing just from my peers and other people in the community of just how they're getting involved. I'm seeing Hennessy here and Hennessy there, obviously because of you, which is super dope. But it's pretty amazing to see a brand like Hennessy where I know that they're embraced by Black culture, but how much that they're actually trying to make moves to give it back. Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? Can you speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, and it's funny because there's actually a lot of changes happening even now, you know, because, you know, there's no ownership by Black people of the brand itself, right? And you know, that's a big thing for us. Right. But in terms of, like, the organizational chart, you start to see, like, right now we have a VP who's a Black woman. And even people in positions of, like, decision makers are now people of color, they're women. So it's getting better. I mean, you just saw what just happened in the news with Jay-Z. That's a huge deal. Like, if you look at LVMH, you know, it's a white company. Right. So this deal with going into business with Jay-Z is huge. Yeah. So I can, like, they're moving in the right direction. And then for us as a culture, I mean, we embrace it because, I mean, it's a long history. If you want to go all the way back to, like, why people drink Hennessy, it started from the World Wars. So Black soldiers who were fighting in France started drinking Hennessy there. And France was very welcoming to, like, jazz music and artists. And so, you know, when the soldiers came back to the U.S., they ended up continuing to drink Hennessy. Right. And so that's kind of how it started. So, like, if your grandfathers and great-grandparents were drinking it, it just started carrying down through generation to generation. Right. And, you know, Hennessy is one of the first, I would say, actually it is the first liquor brand to, like, advertise in Black magazines. So that was also very huge. So
Mm-hmm.
you're starting to see it everywhere, and then partnerships with like Nas.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean that's a great story if you want to tell like from beginning to now. Like, you know, he starts off as an artist, a rapper from the projects,
Mm-hmm.
to being like one of the best entrepreneurs out there right now. Like,
Right.
dude's he's involved in everything.
Right.
So you do a good job of like building partnerships with the right people, and then having, you know, Team Hennessy is huge because we're like in the midst of all these communities.
Like embedded in the culture. Yeah,
right?
Yeah, it's so important.
Exactly. So it's like very organic, and like our relationships are not forced. Not everything is about money. Like, you know, I can get things done by saying, you know, not only because I work for Hennessy, but because of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just because of who I am, I'm able to tie Hennessy in as well.
Yeah,
So.
I always think of the example of like Cristal,
Yeah.
how it was like embraced by hip hop culture and black culture, but then like maybe I think their owner or whatever.
Yeah, he said, "Oh,
was
I can't
like,
stop them from buying."
Yeah, and like
then Jay-Z was like, "Yeah, I'm not, you know."
Yeah, in the
owner is racist, and that was it. Puts it in a song verse, and
exactly. Yeah. Like I remember early 2000s. Like as a kid, I was like, Cristal is something I definitely want to drink when I get older.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
boom, gone. And then I realized when I grew up, it's like, because like
and then they
started talking loud, and then and then everyone drops it. Now Cristal's done. Like
and then
you'll
you
see
know
Cristal
he
anywhere.
starts Ace of Spades, and then now 50%
Yeah.
of it's sold to LVMH. So
Yeah, exactly. It's amazing. Like, you know, with so much going on in terms of social injustice and everything that's gone on, especially in the last year.
Yeah.
I've seen just personally like so many brands that are like fake supporting and like only reaching out because of what's happening.
Right.
So hearing just these stories from you and just your direct experience with them and how they've kind of been doing that for a long time, if not day one, is really honestly refreshing. Shout out Hennessy. Everybody buy that Hennessy. Like, this is really just questions that I have.
Sure.
Like, do they just send you boxes of it? Like, are you?
So we get some
supply?
product for seeding. So like, you know, we're able to gift sometimes for sponsorship opportunities that, you know, don't require any money. So like Smash Bros held an event at what museum was that on the waterfront?
The ICA.
At the ICA, yeah. So I took care of all the people backstage. So everybody got a gift bag with a bottle of Hennessy and some other things. So so there's certain opportunities where I can just bring product, and I don't have to like, it's not like I don't have to give money per se for the sponsorship.
Right.
I've done a few like listening parties.
Yep.
With Aleco, Brand Nation.
Yeah.
A few artists.
Yep.
You know, so depending on what the opportunity is, I'm able to just use product for that. And then of course I have a budget also. It was a lot better before COVID.
yeah.
But yeah.
And it was funny because at the bar a few days ago, the guy I was with, I forgot what I ordered, but the guy, you ordered Hennessy something, obviously. Yeah. The guy I was with, I don't know what he ordered, but you even whispered like, "Oh, that should be Hennessy." Is that just kind of how you are with the brand and everything like that?
It just comes naturally now.
Yeah.
I mean, and because the thing is like, some people are scared to try Hennessy, right?
Oh, trust me, I know. I know.
But once you start trying it in different ways and like elevating the experience, it's so good. Like even last night at dinner, like it wasn't a table full of Hennessy drinkers,
right?
But the way that the bartender came up with these cocktails, they're like, "Oh, this is amazing!" Like, they would never think to drink Hennessy the way it was, and that happens all the time. Yeah, it's literally just finding the way that you like it best because everybody's palate is different. Yeah. So I mean, if you go and try to take a shot of Hennessy, of course you're like, "Oh my god, it burns." If you don't have a palate for that, you know. But like for me, like I feel that way about tequila.
I'm Latino, and tequila shots because everyone wants to do tequila shots all the fucking time. Yeah. And I'm like, I can't put it down, man. Like it's way too much. Yeah. But to your point about the palate thing and Hennessy being super versatile, I mean, I guess this episode is sponsored by Hennessy. We have the bottle here. Rob's here. But people who know me know that I drink Hennessy. And my argument to all the people that are like, oh, like it's disgusting or whatever, I can't do it. I'm like, yo, you have to understand that you can mix with orange juice, pineapple juice, Coke, Red Bull, like cranberry juice, apple juice. Like you can drink it in the morning, drink it at night. Like you can. It's so versatile. And you mentioned ginger beer at the bar. You're like, you should try it with ginger beer. Yeah. I was like, fuck, I didn't even know that. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so everybody pick up a bottle. This is like some crazy hood shit. But like, do you like drinks like crazy hood drinks like Hulks, like the Incredible Hulk?
Yeah, I mean, that was before Team Hennessy. Like, I wouldn't do it now. It's just too much sugar.
But
I've tried it before.
I've looked into it just about the story and the background of it.
Yeah.
And what I found online was that, like, I think it was like Diddy or someone was doing like a hypnotic release party. I think he was probably like the guy promoting it or whatever in New York. This is like 2003 or something.
Yeah.
And that apparently they were doing this big club party for hypnotic, but like none of the guys were drinking it because it's it's like super girly, super fruity and all that stuff. And I guess they were like, yo, like what can we do to get like more people to drink this and whatever. And I guess one of the bartenders like throw some Hennessy in it, turns dark green, and they call it the Hulk, put some ice in it and just start shelling it out. And I guess it just like sells out. And that was like how the Incredible Hulk was born.
Interesting.
And I thought it was like a hilarious like liquor history story, like hood drink like history story. And what are your recommendations for? You've seen so many cocktails now of Hennessy. What were the recommendations?
So my go-to at dinner, I like a Hennessy sidecar, Hennessy privilege sidecar, I should say. But what I tried recently was actually pretty good. It was a Hennessy espresso martini. So instead of vodka, do Hennessy.
Yeah, like it's so fucking versatile, dude. Like you can put it with literally anything.
And it was amazing. I had it at Strip by Strager, and
no doubt,
they did a great job. I was like, oh.
So you requested it special type shit?
Yeah, I requested it just out of the blue.
Yeah.
One of the guys I was drinking with always does espresso martini. I was like, let me try one with Hennessy instead of vodka. And
it was bomb.
It was bomb.
What are some of the notable events you've done just kind of in your career that, whether it be with Hennessy or just on your own flow? Like,
oh, man.
Because I don't think people know.
That's a tough one. So Pandora Thursdays was a big party for a long time. That was at Felt before it closed. That was years ago. Shout out to Kenny. That's still my business partner. So probably the longest I've ever worked with anyone is Kenny. I don't know if you know Kenny.
I don't know.
So he has another brand. It's called Privé.
Okay,
So,
okay, cool.
So we started doing that together, but that was more like his speed. So, certain events we'll do together, others we won't. He's my partner, actually, at Saturdays at Bijou.
Okay.
Hopefully we're able to do that again. So, obviously Saturdays at Bijou. We actually, I think we could say we were the first to bring local DJs in because prior to us, it was always like out of state DJ coming in. Like that was their whole thing of creating that vibe of like New York DJs, LA.
Yeah, which
they had like that whole. They had a partnership with Scam Artists, I believe, and a lot of those DJs were. And so, there were very few, if any, local DJs that were able to spin on a Saturday night, and we kind of changed that whole dynamic when we got there.
What was that intentional? Being like, yo,
Absolutely.
We have the love here. You're from Boston.
Yeah.
What do you think of just places like that do that, where it's like, oh, so much talent here?
I get it in a sense, is to try to be different because, here's the thing, right? Like, you can't expect the DJ to be so loyal that they're not going to spin anywhere else unless you have them there every single Saturday.
Unless you take care of them.
Right.
Yeah.
So, with that said, you can't have the same DJ every Saturday because you want to change the vibe up a little bit.
Right.
And it's hard to do that with the same DJ.
Right.
So, once a DJ is like, say, if at Bijou on a Saturday, then the next Saturday they're at a venue, then you're like, oh, certain promoters feel some kind of way.
Yeah.
Which I think is silly.
It's insane.
Because, that's their livelihood. What are you going to do?
I've dealt with it and had those conversations, and I'm like, literally, what do you want me to do? If you're not going to book me every Saturday, you're just going to expect me to wait?
Right.
Like, you don't do that with women. You don't do that with money. Like, you don't just wait for it to come to you. You got to go you got to go find it and get it. You know what I mean?
So, like you said, unless you're willing to offer a deal to keep that person as a resident, even if they're just opening every week, then you got to be able to let them go other places.
Absolutely.
But even in terms of like booking out of state DJs, it's a lot of money to do that, first of all, and then it doesn't necessarily have that impact that you think it's going to have every time either.
Right.
Because local people like, who is that?
And especially Boston because, it being such a huge college market.
Right.
A lot of these college kids are not tapped because
they're not versed with
like we were saying in the beginning, it'd be these kids from like New Hampshire coming into BU for 4 years and they're going out to all these clubs, but they don't know what the fuck is going on in like the music culture or anything.
It's literally about making sure they have a good time, right? From the customer. I always say the most important person on the night out is like your door guy, because that's the first person that they see or like, greet, and like that like dictates the rest of the night. So like you always want your door guy to be like on point. Yeah. And it's so hard to find like
Yeah, man.
It's tough. I mean, there are some really good ones, but there are some really bad ones.
Yeah.
And the bad ones, they just get this like ego trip, power thing. And
Oh
it's
man,
like, dude.
I've blown up Ado before, being like, "Yo, get the fucking door guy," because he's yelling at my peoples right now, and like that are just trying to see me and do whatever.
And it's silly because it's like, dude, like you wouldn't be working right now if you weren't throwing this night. Like you understand that, right?
Like help the night out.
Yes,
like, yeah.
Like, the customers are making the night. So if you're shitty with the customers, they're not gonna come back.
Absolutely.
And then none of us are in the job. Like
Right.
So, be mindful of that.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You almost want to have guys that aren't necessarily like tough, but can like de-escalate situations. Like know how to talk to people. So like have that guy be able to talk and then have the muscle behind him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No,
like,
yeah, for sure.
So so if you're gonna throw a party and you want to have a good party, have a good door guy. And then
that's great advice.
Yeah. Sure.
No one's ever said that.
No,
I've never heard someone say that.
I always said we should have a woman, but it's tough to have a female outside when it's cold and they don't want to deal with the weather and
especially if shit pops off too, it's a little
exactly.
It's a little funky.
It's like a little risky. But, but women know how to talk to guys a lot, and then they're more friendly in general, and because if you go to like New York, that's who has the clipboard with the guest list. It's just generally a woman. Like I mean, if you're talking about New York's doing it, then they must know what's going on. These are clubs that are going from 10 p.m. to 4 a.m.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Having gone around a lot and seeing a lot of experience, Team Hennessy, just, being out and about, but sticking to Boston, what are some of the things that kind of make Boston very unique in a positive way, but maybe in a negative way, especially on your pockets?
Yeah, it's funny because, prior to 2019, I was all over the place. I think I was in LA twice, Miami twice, Chicago, Super Bowls, All-Star, Latin Grammys, BET Awards. So it's like you said, I'm seeing these clubs all over, all different parts of the country, which is it's a great experience. Like, I encourage people to travel more. And I think that's part of, the downside of Boston is a lot of people don't go outside of the city. Like, they don't know anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And you get a narrow mind when you have that, when you don't get to experience it. And especially now, it's now it's tough to travel, but, you should make an effort to do that. Traveling is, one of the best experiences ever.
Yeah.
And it really changes your mindset, just meeting people from different places and seeing different things. The problem with Boston is a lot of the, crabs in a barrel type of, everyone's trying to go after the same people, and then, but there's so many people here that a lot of places can be successful at the same time. And as a promoter, you get into these arguments over foolishness, or you book a table, and then that table is like, oh, so-and-so said they can give you the same bottle, a better price on the bottle, so we're going to go there. Or it's just people trying to undercut you.
I didn't know people undercut tables.
Oh, absolutely.
I knew DJs undercut DJs. I didn't know people undercut tables.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And then it's then there's a group of women that draws other people, and then you try to get those girls to come because they're going to draw other people.
Right.
And then it's just a lot of tit for tat, and just a lot of undercutting in general. And then people taking it personally when an artist who you may have had booked before decides to go to another club, that creates drama too. Or if you have a relationship with someone on the Celtics or the Patriots, and then they decide to go somewhere else. It's dude, you can't expect these people to come.
It's their girlfriend.
Yeah, it's they're gonna go where they want to go.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely.
And I learned a long time ago not to take things personally. I'm super chill. It's really hard to get me stirred. I'm the most laid back guy you'll ever meet. Unless completely disrespectful to me, to my face.
Right.
I let things go all the time. For what? What are we arguing about? Why am I gonna be mad?
Mm-hmm.
It's funny the other day. So where we were at a Rock and Ride bar.
Yep.
The owner's name is Ty.
Yep.
So Ty used to be the owner at Vanderbilt.
Oh, I didn't know that.
On Water Street.
He's from Rosendale, I think.
I think he might be.
So I met him that night, and we just on some drunk.
Yeah, or I think he might live there now. I don't know if he's there.
Maybe that's what it is.
I think he lives there now. I don't know if he's from Rosendale.
But we had this 20-minute conversation about Rosendale, and it was so random. It was a random night. It was a random ass night.
So Vanderbilt used to be the home for Brunch So Hard. That's where it started.
Right.
And I started Brunch So Hard. but nobody knows that. Not a lot of people know that. Myself and Kenny.
I did not know that.
Yeah, see?
Whoa!
and I'll give you a receipt on that. I got the name Brunch So Hard from Urban Outfitters. They had a little pouch. It was like a brunch kit, and it said Brunch So Hard on it. You could even Google it.
It sounds right.
It looks like a little Tiffany colored bag.
Yeah.
I forget. And it said Brunch So Hard, and that's where the name came up. So Kenny and I started the brunch, and then we brought Mitch and Gino on. We did well. Eventually, Vanderbilt ended up getting sold.
Yep.
We didn't find a new home right away.
Mm-hmm.
I forget what happened. I don't know. Anyway, we ended up severing ties.
Yeah.
And then,
which happens all the time in the nightlife world. It's nothing crazy.
And then I forget where they ended up moving Brunch So Hard to. Eventually ended up at Society on High.
Yeah. Before that, it was in Seaport, the Casa de Pedro.
There you go. Yeah. That's right. So yeah, when it came back up and the name started again, it was like, I got a lot of like, yo, isn't that your shit? Like, I'm like, whatever,
wow.
Man. At that time, I didn't care anymore. Like it had been however long in between them doing it and us doing it that like, it was bygones to me. But seeing Ty back at Rock and Rye, he pulls me aside and he says that to me. He's like, how the fuck did you let these dudes take Brunch So Hard? I was like, I don't know, man. Whatever, dude. It's like,
wow.
They did a great job of the direction it wouldn't have been the direction I would have gone per se, because when we were doing it, it was a little bit more chill in a sense, and we couldn't.
a true brunch.
Yeah, we couldn't do bottle service at Vanderbilt, but we did like large format drinks and like champagne. So it was like, mimosa flights or like pictures of like Hennessy, sangria. Like those are the kind of drinks that we were doing. So it wasn't really about the bottle parades and all that stuff that ended up coming later. But society, that dictated that type of environment. They had bottle service there, so why not offer it?
Right.
But it got a lot more ratchet than what we were doing. Yeah, I'm an older dude. Like that's not the environment that I want to be in on a weekly basis.
And I think like we were saying earlier, like you keep yourself in a very certain image.
Yeah.
Is that really important to you?
Oh, absolutely. And it's funny, and I tell people, like younger people all the time, like watch what you post on social media, because like if you are interested in like having a brand back you later or working with a brand, they look at all that stuff. So like if you're posting stuff where you're cursing all the time, or you're smoking weed on camera, or posting pictures of women that are scantily dressed, like that's not a good look. Like you got to be conscious of like who's like, if would you want like someone in corporate America to see this,
right? Or
whoever you want to work for, like no. So you got to think about those things. So like even now, if you looked at my social media, like even in speaking, I hardly ever curse. Like I got to be super upset, even around my friends. Like I don't say the N-word. I don't curse. Like I'm always super like professional. Like you don't ever know who's watching, and then you always gotta. And then in the business, be kind to everybody that you meet. You got like all the bar backs at Bijou. Hey, what's up, Rob? Like they all know who I am. Like when I go take care of something, if I'm bringing in T-shirts for the staff, I make sure they get T-shirts too. Like hats, Hennessy hats, whatever. You take care of everybody. Like give everyone the same respect.
Absolutely.
It's huge.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think that's amazing advice.
Yeah.
That as more important as social media becomes, whether it be just for your image or people. The influencer game is just growing. Everyone's becoming some kind of influencer at some kind of level, and it's getting people that even followings of just like 5,000 are getting brand deals for a reason.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
And being able to maintain that good image and perception of you is becoming more important literally as the day goes on.
Absolutely. It's different. Like if you're an artist, a rap artist, or obviously you're gonna curse, and your vibe is gonna be a little. It all depends on who your market is, right? Who are you targeting?
Right.
So it's funny. We talked about this the other day. Like Nas's video with DJ Khaled, he has a Hennessy bottle on the golf course, and he put a ball on top, and he knocks the ball. Like we couldn't get away with doing something like that. Like, It's not.
Nas is Nas.
Yeah, Nas is Nas, exactly. But like we're told like never put a Hennessy bottle like on the ground. Like don't take any pictures of like the bottle on the ground.
Right.
No, like if you're driving, no drinks, like none of that stuff. Obviously,
right.
Got to drink responsibly. So
right.
there are very like specific guidelines that you have to be conscious of. And, like smoking and drinking Hennessy is not a good look, so.
we acknowledged how the hip hop community, the black community embraces Hennessy, and obviously, you know, that can go in multiple different ways, with the nutclubs that we described in the club going crazy to the, you know, super put together executives drinking Hennessy in dinner.
Yeah.
As someone who is pretty tightly tied to it, do you see more of like people kind of like abusing the brand and its image versus uplifting it?
I wouldn't say abusing it. I mean, you get obviously like, oh, you hear things like, oh, like that's nasty, or that's a hood drink, or you know, you get that. But the more we do in different spaces, I think the more people are becoming aware of like really understanding the brand and actually trying it in different ways. Like I talked about, it's really about education and experience. You know, so like you can say what you want unless you actually try it. You know, because there are different ways to experience it. So, you know, your idea of what it is isn't necessarily right because you haven't tried it in any other way. So,
word.
Yeah, and like at our events, you know, I'm doing bottle, like if you go to the Grand or whatever, all the bottle service girls, they're drinking Hennessy right there with me. You know what I mean? Like that's just, you know, bottle service girls anywhere that I go. Like most of them are drinking Hennessy too, and then they're getting the other tables to buy Hennessy because that's what they drink. Right. You know, so it's literally like if you're taking care of them and you're spending money with them and this is what you're drinking, that's going to carry over because it's like, hey, oh, I want to do a shot. Like, oh, I'm drinking Hennessy tonight. All right, let's buy a bottle of Hennessy.
Yeah. And it makes sense. And I'm happy you brought that up because there are still certain venues that won't serve it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And me enjoying it. And as I kind of brought up into the ranks where like I started in like a college bar scene and then all through into the downtown club scene. Yeah. Where I started kind of realizing what spots carried and what spots don't.
And you know what that's about.
Yeah. So you being, again, tightly tied to it, have maybe just kind of an opinion on it or just like any commentary on just like how
I think it's just like flowing? I think it's just like old ownership, right? Because a lot of these venues are owned by older white men that are not in tune with what's going on today, right? Right. So like, you know, even like some of the beverage programs, a lot of it honestly has to do with price points. Hennessy is not cheap. Right. So a bottle of Hennessy, you know, depending on, let's say it's $40, right? To me, you know, downtown, I think average is probably about $12 to $15 a drink. Whereas if you got a cheaper cognac, which is, say, $20-something, and you charge the same price for the cocktail, your profit margins is a lot higher. So a lot of it is just a numbers game. It's not really about the image of Hennessy. It's literally just like it's too expensive. Whereas some places are like, oh, we don't like the crowd that it attracts. Right. You know, and some of them will say it openly. And like that's literally the reason why. Yeah. So, you know, just don't go to those places. Right. Honestly, like a lot of places I go, if they don't have Hennessy, I won't drink. I'll have a water. Yeah. Just to prove a point.
Yeah. Like no, you're not taking my money.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's great because again, it was not until I was fully in like a full adult where I was like, fuck, like they really don't want these people to come to the point where like they won't offer like what they want.
It's crazy.
You mentioned earlier, you know, when you were traveling around, you mentioned BT Awards. I saw photos of you at the Latin Grammys.
Yeah, I brought Cisco along for that.
Yeah, like what was it? I obviously, you know, didn't know you yet or anything like that, and I was just like, yo, like, why, how, what?
Where? Yeah, so Hennessy was one of the sponsors for the Grammys, and I was selected as one of the people to represent the brand.
Wow. And so what did that come with? Like,
so basically, you were able to choose a guest from each market. So it was Boston, New York, Dallas, and I think it was just the three of us, if I'm not mistaken. So we each got to bring someone from our market to come experience the Latin Grammys. So flight, hotel, dinner accommodations, anything had to do with the Grammys. You got to do the red carpet. Wow. The pre-awards ceremony, got to attend the Grammys itself, and then a post-party. So wow, it was cool, man.
I mean, it's
funny because like, I mean, I hear Latin music and being in the club, but I can't say like I listen to Latin music at home. But the experience and just hearing the artists was amazing. Just being there, yeah. I mean,
that must have been one of the
Rosalia fan that day.
I'm sure that just being there was just like a holy shit, this is where it's got me kind of moment. I'm assuming
absolutely. And Cisco, you know, was
nerding
like
out. I'm
there
sure
was like an old school Mexican band that played. And he was like, "Oh my god!" Like my parents would be flipping out every time.
You mentioned Rosalia. Were there other like artists at least you were aware of? Or
Oh
that
yeah,
you were
of course.
super close to.
We went to a Bad Bunny party.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I can't remember but I don't know if he was. I can't if Maluma was there also. But Maluma was I don't know if his contract got renewed, but was also had to deal with Hennessy.
Oh, word.
Yeah.
Word.
And then of course Canelo on the boxing side.
Word.
Has a fight on Saturday.
That's so fire.
Yeah.
I want to shift gears a little bit.
Yeah.
And we've had a couple family men on the show.
Yeah.
You have 2 daughters, correct?
Married to 2 girls.
And what's it like just kind of balancing everything? I mean, I know
it's tough.
Yeah, I know like some of my homies now are like getting to where they're having kids and it's just like it flips their world upside down.
Yeah.
Like they're like, oh my God, I don't have a life anymore. It's their life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like just speak onto that.
So it's like when my little one was born, I was promoting full time. So I was able to be home with her every day, all day long, while my wife was at work.
Right.
So that was great. Like I would never be able to do that if I wasn't in that type of job. And like later on, end up getting the job with Team Hennessy. So that was like for the first 2 years of her life, I had her every day. So our bond is like
beautiful.
Yeah, it was amazing.
That's awesome.
But as they got older, and it's like, all right, I got to get them to school. So I'd be getting home at like 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And then getting up at 6:30, 7 o'clock to just take them to school in the morning. And it's like once I'm up, I'm up. So like that, it took a toll on my body, like in terms because it's not like I'm just out late. Like I'm out drinking. Sometimes I'm eating late, and it's like then you don't fall asleep right away.
Trust me, I get it. Trust me, I get it.
So to wake up that early without having recovered, it's rough. It's rough. I mean, COVID was like a blessing in disguise for me in a sense, like that silver lining of making me slow down a bit. Because obviously I wasn't drinking much, I wasn't going out. Actually, I took like 2 months off of like no alcohol whatsoever. I went from getting like 3 to 4 hours of sleep to 8 hours of sleep, sometimes 10.
Yeah.
And then just a lot more time at home with the kids because they're doing hybrid. At first, they weren't even doing hybrid. Everything was online. And now they're just doing 2 days at school and then the rest of the week at home. So, and then obviously my wife's been super supportive. She's a grinder too.
Yep.
Works full time. Has 2 businesses on the side, wedding planning, and then Adorn Boutique Studio.
Shout out Adorn.
Thank you. So she gets it. I mean, we're both hustlers. Like, if she wasn't a hustler too, it'd be a lot harder, and vice versa. So
yeah, I mean, to that specifically, like, obviously, dating a promoter isn't easy. Dating a DJ isn't easy, and you
gotta have tough skin.
Yeah, gotta have tough skin, and like I said, I do the 9 to 5 thing on top of it. Do the podcast. It's just a hustler's mindset for a lot of people that are in the industry because that's how you have to be.
Absolutely.
And you saying that it probably like wouldn't necessarily work out if she wasn't a hustler as well. Like I'm realizing as I get older and dating and whatnot like that, it's pretty fucking true. Like
and then you gotta learn to make time. Schedule is a lot. Like we share a calendar, so like I know what she has going on. Like for the week, like pretty much the rest of the week or the month. Like I can look and see like, oh yeah, I'm free that day, or no, I got to be home with the kids, and vice versa. So. And
can you think of I know you mentioned like just the late night stuff, like just in general, where maybe you had to pick and choose, or like you felt that this is a moment where I got to be the dad, or this is a moment where I got to be the businessman.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because everything I was doing was nightlife, so it's never really that hard to have to choose between. It was just, all right, I'm going to be really tired tomorrow. I just got to suck it up. Like, that's one thing. Like, I've never dropped the ball on, like, my daytime responsibilities because I had a rough night. Like, no matter what kind of night I've had, I got to get up and handle my business.
Absolutely.
Like, whatever that is.
Absolutely.
And we have a dog, and that's another
man.
responsibility.
But beautiful. I mean, you guys have the American dream. You have, like, damn, Phil.
Battery.
What was that? Oh, the battery. I mean, you're living to what a lot of people say is like the American dream. The 2 kids, the dog, the house. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Again, like just starting from that like promoter life, being young outside of BU. Like, did you just like expect all this to kind of come to you? Like looking back in retrospect, what is that?
I mean, I knew I always wanted to have a family. Just, you know, I was raised. I had an older sister. Both of my parents all my life. Their parents are still together. Actually living with me now. We have an in-law.
Oh, wow.
So I take care of them, and you know they're elderly now, which is how I was able to get the vaccination the other day.
Shout out the vaccine.
But yeah, I mean, family's always been important to me. So I knew that I wanted that. So yeah, just gotta do it to make it work.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes like especially like, you know, before COVID, where she was rocking and you know it was fast paced. Like I always kind of started debating with myself, being a young man, like is. Because, like, obviously, I love the scene. I love DJing. Like, I've made a podcast about it. You know what I mean? Where I started kind of thinking to myself, like, I've had women being like, you have to choose because I can't deal with it. No. You know what I'm saying? Well, and I know it's
and I'm quick to say no, but
yeah,
I guess at that point you have to decide what's more important.
Right. And so I mean, I'm still sitting here, so I chose. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And that's one great thing about my wife. She's never made me try to choose or change who I was. Right. Like, I mean, I met her in the club.
Met her in the club. I love it.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, she didn't expect me to become somebody else after dating me. And, you know, that's one thing that's the reason why we've been able to last so long is because she's allowed me to be me and vice versa. So, you know, as long as we support each other, then that's the
word. Shout out wifey, man.
Yeah.
Shout out wifey. And then lastly, just like obviously we've talked about your come up, you know, the things you've been able to accomplish, things you've been able to do. But obviously with the last year, huge left turn, you know, so being able to maintain, you know, that that Team Hennessy, how do you continue doing that besides the dinners? And then just you as Rob, how do you continue to push Rob forward during a pandemic like this?
So prior to COVID, like our title was key account managers for Team Hennessy. And now we're influencers. I mean, not in the term like loosely like influencer in the sense that we really influence our market in different ways. So a lot of it now is a lot of social media posts, small scale dinners, some bar spends here and there just to support the community, like the places that are open.
Oh, that's cool.
Like we'll go in like our Rock and Ride bar, for example. I'll just do like a spend at the bar and say, hey, just take care of cocktails for these people up to this amount and close my tab out. So things of that nature. Just to stay relevant, you know, not only with the venue, but also with the consumers, like the ones that are choosing to still go out.
And showing faces like that is super important.
Yeah, absolutely. And then for me, you know, just trying to stay in tune with what's going on, doing things like this. Actually, this is my first podcast. This is my first podcast.
Yo, we're super happy. I mean, this was, you know, we had obviously, you know, on episode 20 right now. And, you know, we've had a list of people that like we wanted to get on and just being able to maneuver that. And obviously, you know, you're one of them. Cool. Having Sid as the connect. You know, I appreciate him. Shout out Sid again. And, you know, being able to, you were super kind enough to come, even though like you and I had never met or anything like that. And so we heavily appreciate that.
That's how it works, right? It's like a lot of connecting. Like I call myself a connector. So like if I hear of an opportunity, I'm like, all right, I know someone that can help you out, or this would be great for this. Like, and that's what friends do, right? Like you hear of an opportunity, or like you know, whether it's to make money or to meet someone or whatever it is. Like, hey, I got someone for you. Like, here's this person. Like, you know, even like Cisco being an unsung hero with the Celtics. Like that was me, you know, saying, hey, I got someone that would be great for this. My person reached out to Cisco. They did an interview, and he ends up being on the Instagram. So like, those type of things, like, they come naturally to me. It makes me feel good. Like, I live for those things. Like, I'm always happy to see connections being made in whatever it is. Whether, you know, I almost say anything you need, you could call me. I'll figure it out. I'll help you get it. Wow. Like, right now, my guy, Mick the Mayor, he's a promoter. Well, not so much anymore. Now he's joining a tag football league for middle school, I think elementary to middle school. So now he's trying to raise funds for the program because he got to hire referees, has to have EMT on standby. He wants to make it a travel team so that they can go visit other cities, visit colleges while they're there, and compete in other places. So now my goal is to help him raise those funds because that's huge for him. So so these are those things that, like, you know, I'm just always trying to help however I can.
Damn. Yeah. What's at this point, like, what's a goal that you have beyond you at this point?
What's next for me? Honestly.
Well, I mean, yes, what's next for you, but also like, what's something that's like, this is something that's like semi-attainable, semi not attainable, but this is what I want now. Like, this is the next step that I want.
What I want next is actually Black ownership in the city of Boston. Like, I want to own a venue, whether it be a restaurant or a lounge. Like, that's what I see next for myself.
Wow. And what's the vision on that venue?
Just something that's welcoming to all, something with a cool vibe, a nice brunch scene, good music. I feel like that's one of the things that's really lacking in Boston is like having a good meal and having good music play.
Which is like so like almost mundane and like
it's like you go in and this is like elevator music in the background or some abstract like techno or EDM beat that, no one really can vibe to. It's just kind of like it's just playing in the background, like whereas you could be playing like R&B or like
some soul, some
souls, exactly, like some from the 70s or 80s. It doesn't even matter. It's just like stuff you can sing along to and like, stuff that brings you back or takes you somewhere else, like nostalgic type of, like those are things that like make places memorable. Like you go to eat in Miami, like some of these places, like,
all of it, like all of them,
and some of it is like top 40 music playing, like.
but it's giving you a good vibe to want to stay longer and to keep going, and So. I always like would go on these like rants about like us being from the Boston neighborhoods and everything, and growing up here and everything. I go on these crazy rants sometimes, and one of them is like, yo, why do I have to go to downtown to be able to get a good drink and some good food?
Yeah.
Why aren't there any places in Rosendale, in Dorchester, that like I can really just get good music, get a good drink with my friends, and get really good food, and not have to go into downtown?
Yeah. I mean, they're there. I think you have to find them. Like I'm learning about places all the time, and a lot of it is through social media. Like someone's posting something like, "Oh, I've never heard of this place," and doing a little research. And I saw someplace in Waltham, and the food and the drinks look amazing. It's like something Wall Project. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but
check it out.
Yeah,
$2,000 computer. Let's use it.
I just started following like yesterday, and it was like craft cocktails. I think it was like different types of chef, like cooking different ways, and it wasn't like the regular like off the grill type of. I don't know. It was something unique about it.
Yeah.
But I feel like there are a lot of places sprouting up in different parts of Boston and outside of.
Yeah, I'm gonna just start rattling off these names.
Hold on, actually, I can tell you. Let's check my social media real quick.
There you go. And again, this episode is sponsored by Hennessy.
Unofficially.
We got the bottle out. It's good times.
Sorry. I'm sure you can chop out this dead air.
Yeah, not a problem.
Oh, man. Craft food halls. Yes.
Good thing you looked it up because that's not even on the list that I was about
to I said walls, but it was halls. Yeah, craft food halls.
Dope. Yeah, that's something I definitely.
So it was just super random. It came across like in my feed or something, and then it was just like, oh man, like look at these drinks, look at this food. This looks amazing. Like you said, sometimes you just think everything is in downtown proper way, but it's not the case. So.
Yeah, and that really is the power of social media. We had the general manager of Bodega Canal here, Jason.
Yeah.
A few episodes ago, and we talked about just like.
Tell Jason he needs to get some Hennessy in there.
Yeah, I know. But we talked about the importance of like Instagrammability.
Yeah.
Like within just like venues or restaurants, you know what I mean? Where if you're able to do the large format stuff that everyone's taking pictures of, or like the painting that every girl does the IG on, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It goes a long way, and they literally worked on you with this Waltham spot that you wouldn't have found otherwise unless
absolutely
she was looking right. And
very important.
Yeah, super important. What are just things that we should be looking out for? Things in the works. Where can people find you?
Well, my Instagram handle is I am Boston,
which is also the coolest. I mean, is it one of those things that you got it just from like early Instagram days and just kept it on lock, or? Yeah,
I mean, it's funny because I always said like because I travel a lot. I represent Boston, like so. I say that I am Boston. It's not like like an ego thing. It's literally like I represent the city. That because it's funny, like I'm 42, so a long time ago, people didn't think there were any black people in Boston.
Right. No, yeah.
Their only vision of Boston was like what they saw in like the real world. And I don't even know if you knew that.
No, I know the real world. I know the real world. I know the real. I'm there.
So there was a Boston season, and you know, I think there was like one or two black people like the whole season, and like what's going on? Like, so like that was just one of those things. Like, you know, I just felt the need to lock that down, and that was me.
Yeah, best Instagram handle in the city for sure. It's funny you saying that because it's a random story. I went to Miami once with my boy, and we were in the club just like going ham, whatever. And you know, it's Miami, so you meet tons of people that are like not from Florida, and we just bump into these dudes that we just happen to be like partying with the last 2 hours, and I was just like, yo, like, where y'all from? Yeah. They're like, oh, we're from Atlanta, blah, blah, blah. We just drove down here, whatever. I'm like, oh, dope. And they're like, where you from? I'm from Boston. And they get like super serious. And they just get real quiet. And one of them gets mad close to me and he just goes, yo, Boston strong, bro. And I'm like, what? And he was like, yo, like, I've seen the movies. Like y'all really go through some shit over there. And I'm like, and it's funny because I was like, if I just were to think of Miami, I'll think of Miami Vice and like these movies from there. So if you never been to Boston, you just think of the movies. And so and they're like, you must be like a bad motherfucker. And I'm like they probably just think of some like dude that has a gun on me that's like has a Boston accent from the project. Like, and I was just like, yo, this is wild. So you talk about like representation of Boston is all messed
funny.
up.
It's all. Depending on who you talk to, it's a different perspective. So
and any new things, plans that we should be looking out for, anything like that?
Right now, you know, just some more dinners on the Hennessy side. Like I said, we'll still be doing some bar activations. This Saturday, I'll be watching the Canelo fight somewhere. I'm not sure where, but Canelo's fighting. You know, he's a Hennessy fighter. So, nothing crazy. Couple of things in motion, but until the ink is dry.
I hear you. We know. Yeah, of course. So. Well, it's been a huge pleasure talking to you, man. You too, man. And your story is great. The experience is amazing. I'm sure people are gonna, be inspired and just being able to hear that, you can go from A, get to B. And I think, you speaking a lot towards just how things can impact culture, imagery, everything like that has been super important and stuff that, we've always wanted to have someone that could actually really speak to it with experience. And obviously you fit that bill, so we really appreciate you coming through.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And good luck with the podcast.
Dude, thank you, man. So follow him at I Am Boston.
Yes.
Hard to forget. As always, follow Dope Entertainment on Instagram, Dope Entertainment Official. My bad. Follow at But I Know the DJ on Instagram as well. Support the podcast. Follow me at Gimme Snacks. And as always, we'll keep coming out with the good content. Follow. Like, reviews. Shares, comments,
absolutely.
Everything you can do, share it to your mailman, and we'll see you next time.
All right.